It's really not about me per se, it's about the 800,000 people in BC who are living with pain. And I'm really quite honored to be here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I was before chronic pain changed my life entirely. I was an OR nurse for 17 years, and they were holding the charge position of orthopedics for me while I got my last child into full-time school. I had a fitness program that kept me at a slim 130 pounds, which is lost in here right now, but that's okay. And that fitness program allowed me to do what I did, work full-time, be able to keep up with my family, to bike and to hike and to swim with them and do all those things that are an important part of living in a family circle. The fitness also allowed me to be able to get out of bed in the morning and hit the floor running at 7 and to get all the way through to midnight before I fell back into bed. And I loved it and I thrived on it. And at that point in time, I was 37 and I thought everything that I wanted in life was right there, right in front of me. But, the big but. So in 1988 and 89, I had 4 surgeries on really strange perineural cysts. They called in the pediatric neurosurgeon because they didn't know what this was. But anyway, they did the 4 surgeries, and in the end, of course, there's a lot of scar tissue, a lot of inflammation, arachniditis, and neuropathic pain from the waist down. So nothing in my nursing, and by that time, I think I'd had 20 surgeries. My grand total is 27, unfortunately. Makes me queasy to think of it, but it's all right. So I flushed my first opioid prescription down the toilet because I was terrified of taking opioids and for how long. But my husband, bless his heart, he said to me, if this medication works and it brings your pain down to a point that you can do some things that are important to you, isn't that a victory and not a failure on your part? So I went back and tried opioids, and that was 23 years ago, and I'm still doing really well on them. My supervisor at the time was amazingly progressive for those days, and she knew I was taking opioids. She knew I was having a lot of pain. She was the only one that knew. And she let me gradually reduce my duties so that the last 9 months that I was at work, I worked at the desk. But gradually, even working at the desk was too hard. The one morning I got to work, and I actually was asleep standing up at report, and somebody put me in a chair and pushed it in the corner, and I slept for 2 hours in the midst of all the pandemonium in an OR desk. And I just thought, I can't do it anymore. So I conceded the point, went on disability, and the last day that I worked was May 31st, 1991, and I left work at 3:15. I told nobody other than my supervisor. I couldn't talk about it. I didn't know what to do with it. People asked me, how are you? And I'm just fine, thanks. Because I didn't know what to tell them yet. I had lost what made me special and important. I couldn't sit or stand for more than 20 minutes, and I still can't. I couldn't sleep for more than 2 or 3 hours. I had heartburn because my digestive system wasn't working well. I had really decreased memory and concentration. The pain interrupted all of those things. I tried reading a book, and I was on the same page a week later, so I didn't read a book for a while. The one main thought that I still remember as clearly as if it was today was that I was 37, and if I lived to be 70, I had 33 more years of pain like this to live through, and I couldn't conceive of being able to do that. And I turned 60 this year, and I've been doing it for 23 years, so it's possible. But amidst all the grief at that time, I knew I had to change. This is not what I wanted to be. I didn't want my kids to remember me as an ill mother. I didn't want to be miserable, and I sure didn't want the pain to dictate what choices I made all the time. I took the essence of who I was, because I didn't want to lose that, and I moved over to Plan B, and I started doing this kind of work. And Dr. Helen Hayes, some of you might remember her, she's long since retired, but she was my pain specialist then. And she asked me to do 2 things for her. She said, please go and talk to one of my patients who has given up, she's laying in bed. And the other thing I want you to do is talk to nurses at the Palliative Care Conference and tell them what it's like to live with pain. Well, those 2 things really cemented my journey of doing this, and I've been doing it for 23 years, advocating for people living with pain and looking after my pain. I want to speak just a little bit about movement. The old word I would have had there was exercise, But when I think of exercise, I think about that fitness plan that I used to have, and that's, that real hard workout and that running and pounding and pushing weights and all those things. And if I thought about that now, I would be terrified. But if I talk to people about just increase your movement, just get flexible, just do it gently, just move, just stay active, that puts a whole different perspective on it, and they're much more willing to buy into movement. And rest. When I was 37, I thought only the lazy people took a nap in the afternoon. Like, how frivolous is that? So I wanted to do something important, so I went back to piano lessons, and I would do my morning stuff, and I was getting pretty good about pacing and doing a different sitting and standing thing. But when I got to do my practicing around 1, that was the time of day that fatigue really hit me. And I was so drowsy. So in the second time when I actually fell off the bench, I thought, okay, maybe that nap thing is not such a bad idea. So before I did my practicing after that, I would put the timer on for half an hour, take the phone off the hook, curl up on the couch, and my wonderful little Cocker Spaniel will curl up just behind my knees, and we'd have a nap. I'd be out full for half an hour. And when I did that, when the kids got home from school, I was a better mom, and I could get through the evening, and I could actually make dinner. And so napping and resting is a very important activity for people living with pain. So plan what your days are going to look like and make action plans too. So use your mind to do a lot of the work for you and plan out what your weeks look like. And you'll get a lot further if you can self-manage using those kinds of things that are easy to access if you know about them. Make tasks easier, get equipment that helps, ask for help, communicate your needs. I'm an avid gardener, and I fill huge pots full of flowers every year, but I can't move those pots and lift those bags of dirt. So my husband, every spring, he makes me up a big workstation with an old piece of 4x8 plywood and garbage cans, and he puts all my dirt there and all my pots there. And then I put them all together, and I can spend a couple days doing that. When I'm all done, he comes and he puts the pots where I tell him to put them, and he puts away my workstation for the next year. And then I can do that. And we learned to communicate differently in my family, and I said to them, I don't want to focus on pain. So if I'm doing something and I get to the point I can't finish it, I'm going to say to you guys, is there someone that can finish this for me? And what that does, it gives me a little more confidence to try things, and it gives them a way to help me so that they're not quite so helpless in their feelings about what was happening to me. Whoever gave me this body to live with gave me the spirit to match. It's an enormous job. It's full-time, 24/7, and there's no vacations. Thank you.